Sorry. Hi. There we go. I'm back. Sorry. Hi. Good. Yeah, I was attacked by the deep state. It's absolutely true. Yeah. So the power went out. I blew a fuse. So I had to go out to the garage and check the breaker. Good times. I've been attacked clearly by the derp state, and they don't want me to talk. It's obviously the Chinese government is after me. It happens on occasion, and I expect it to happen, and I'm okay with it. Let me do this real quick because I'm gonna have to fix my monitor again, aren't I? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Like a jerk. There we go. And I think we're back. Hey, there we go. I'm back. All right, there we go. And where were we? We'll just edit this together like it never happened later for any clips that happen. You know what? I feel like this dude is like the Chinese Mike Pillow in some ways. Like I first had this idea that he was like a hapless sucker in this situation. He was just kind of like in a bad position, or got the best worst job out there, or people in the tech sector got it rough these days. And then as he continues to talk, I'm like, okay, fuck you, dude. It's you'll see what I mean. All right, so where were we? Oh yes, he was being asked about who he knew at ByteDance and why, and he was lying about it.
Representative Burgess a few minutes ago exposed that TikTok and ByteDance share legal teams. You confirmed this, correct?
Okay, hold on. We already saw this.
Yes.
An American. Hold on 1 second. So we'll jump ahead. This you'll get this picture. We were back at where is it? We were back. Here we go. Let's grab a Democrat real quick so we can see what a Democrat leads off with here. Dunk. I'm gonna grab. Well, this is. There you go. There's Kathy. There we go. Here we go. So this was. This is Frank Pallone from New Jersey, which I think is legally you have to change your name to a name like Frank Pallone to be a representative from New Jersey. It's like, I think it's true. All right, so let's see if he has his statement. Yeah, it'll go to him. It's the ranking member on it. So here we go. We'll try to pick up where we left off.
Mr. Chu, that I don't find what you suggested with Project Texas and this firewall that's being suggested to whoever will be acceptable to me. In other words, I still believe that the Beijing Communist government will still control and have the ability to influence what you do. And so this idea, this Project Texas is
yeah, I have to say, like, Project Texas just sounds like, call it Texas. They can't say no to Texas. It's cowboy stuff.
Simply not acceptable. According to
Frank the Pickle Pallone. Is that what you think, Manchita, in our chat room? We're going to have to come up. Frank Pallone's got to have a, Frankie Palindrome, a drome harf.
A recent report, TikTok is on target to make between $15 and $18 billion in revenue this year. Is that an accurate forecast?
He won't say it.
Congressman, as a private company, we are not sharing our numbers
that's what you
publicly.
would say. How much money will TikTok make by delivering personalized advertisements just to your users in the United States? Will you give me that information?
Again, Congressman, respectfully, as a private company, we're not disclosing that.
Look, the impression you're giving, and I know, I can understand why you're trying to give that impression, is that, that you're just performing some kind of public service here, right? I mean, this is a benign company that's just performing a public service. Maybe that's not what you're saying, but I don't buy it, right? My concern here is primarily about the privacy issue, the fact that TikTok is making all kinds of money by gathering private information about Americans that they don't need for their business purposes, and then they sell it. And I mentioned this legislation.
Oh, by the way, he says at one point later on, we don't sell it to data brokers. And the fact that he says we don't sell it to data brokers just says we're our own data broker.
Legislation that the chair and I have that would minimize data collection and make it much more difficult for TikTok and other companies to do that. So if you want to make some commitments today, I'll ask you to make some commitments with regard to this legislation. And, you're going to tell me, well, the bill isn't passed, and so therefore I don't have to do it. But, you say you're benign, you want to do good things for the public. So let me ask you, why not, what about a commitment that says that you won't sell the data that you collect? Would you commit to that, not selling the data you collect?
Congressman, I believe we don't sell data to any data brokers.
You don't sell.
Yeah. Hear that little dodge there? Secondly, nobody has a problem with, well, everybody has a problem with selling data, but that's not the primary problem with TikTok. It's giving it for free to the Chinese government that is the issue.
To anyone.
We don't sell data to data brokers.
I didn't ask you data brokers. You sell it to anyone. In other words, under our bill, you could only use the data for your own purposes, not to sell it to anyone. Would you commit to not selling your data to anyone?
Congressman, I actually am in support of some rules.
I didn't ask you whether rules. I asked you whether the company, TikTok, would commit to not selling its data to anyone and just using it for its own purposes internally.
I can get back to you on the details.
Okay. Get back to me. All right. Another thing that's in our bill says that we would prohibit targeting marketing to people under the age of 17. Would you be willing to agree to prohibit targeted marketing to people, Americans under the age of 17?
First of all, define targeting.
Congressman, we have actually stricter rules for advertisers in terms of what they can show to our users.
So do you prohibit, would you be willing to prohibit targeted marketing to those under 17? That's what's in our bill.
I understand that there's some talk and some legislation around the country.
Well, again, I'm wanting you to make that commitment without the legislation. Since you say you're a good company, you want to do good things, why not?
It's something we can look into and get back to you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, we also have in our bill a requirement of heightened protection for sensitive data, particularly location and health data. Would you commit to not gathering or dealing with location or health data unless you get affirmative consent from the consumer? In other words, under our bill, those are categorized as sensitive, and unless the person specifically says, I want you to collect that data, you wouldn't be able to, location and health data. Would you commit to that?
Congressman, in principle, I support that, which, by the way, we do not collect precise GPS data at this point, and I do not believe we collect.
By the way, you don't have to collect it to transmit it. That's the problem with these kind of answers, too. And look, for fuck's sake, this applies to all social media stuff in general or whatever. These kind of like bat around bullshit answers come up all the time with a lot of different people. And as we get more spread out with our data, this is something we have to watch like a hawk. But specifically, that's why there's two fucking companies here. TikTok and ByteDance like to say they're separate companies, but ByteDance owns TikTok. And ByteDance can and does have a mandate from the Chinese government to collect data. All they have to do is see the data that goes through TikTok for a microsecond, a millisecond, a centisecond, whatever. They just all it has to do is pass through any server that they have any kind of access to, and they collect it. So TikTok, he can sit here and go, we don't collect data. ByteDance does the collection. Derp.
Like any health data.
All right, so would you be willing to make that commitment that from now on you won't collect location and health data without, you're saying at all? Is that a commitment?
This is data that's frequently collected by many other companies in our industry.
I know other companies do it. I don't think they should without affirmative consent. You said you want to be a good actor. So why not make that commitment to me today?
We're committed to be very transparent with our users about what we collect. I don't believe what we collect is more than most players in the industry.
My problem here is you're trying to give the impression that you're going to move away from Beijing and the Communist Party. You're trying to give the impression that you're a good actor. But the commitments that we would seek to achieve those goals are not being made today. They're just not being made. You're going to continue to gather.
By the way, that's the ultimate point of this, by the way, is that ultimately, we'll jump ahead to somebody else. We're just going to needle drop in this. Here's Jan Schakowsky. Jan Schakowsky did a great job as well. Let me back this up. There we go. That's, hey, I'm Cowboy Hudson from North Carolina. That guy ran out of time. Let's see if we got to, Is it Jen Schakowsky? Yeah. So this is Jen Schakowsky. She does a great job too. This is great. You know what's lovely about this, beyond the fact that Democrats and Republicans seem to be pretty united about this? And this is, again, yeah, it's common enemy stuff. Yeah, it's China. Yeah, it's specifically the Chinese Communist Party, and that's what took them to do it. But they're paying more attention to this issue equally, and everybody is putting their 2 cents in, and but for a couple of like Pat Kamek and others, where they're just, building on top of other people's shit. Those folks, everybody has come at it with their own research.
In the Wall Street Journal, they said today, China's commerce minister said that China opposes the sale of TikTok because it would involve exporting China's technology and would, and this is the important part, and would need to be approved by the Chinese government. Would need to be approved by the Chinese government. So all of what you've been saying about the distance between TikTok and China has been said to be not true in the paper today, and I would like to see what you have to say in response.
Congresswoman, I do disagree with that characterization. I think we have designed Project Texas to protect U.S. user interests and to move forward here in the U.S. Again, it's the protections of storing American data on American soil by an American company.
Again, all right, that Project Texas shit just drives me crazy. First of all, storing it here, American data here, is not the problem. That doesn't mean that it won't also be gathered and stored someplace else if the place is still owned by ByteDance. Like, this is the kind of shit that Mike Pillow jumps around yeah, they're destroying our country, that kind of shit. It's the same dumb dodge.
Looked after by American personnel. And I do not think that our commitments to this committee and all our users is impacted by any event that you mentioned. Now, the whole discussion on this, the resolution of this is an ongoing and developing event. So we will continue to pay attention to this, and we'll get back to you when we have more specifics. So but my commitments stand. Yeah.
Okay, so if it's an ongoing debate, apparently with China, so it's hard to say with any certainty that China would not have any influence. But let me ask another question. Last fall, along with Gus Bilirakis, who were chair and co-chair of the subcommittee together, were told that TikTok had surveilled, was involved in surveillance of users, very personal information. And you might say, well, not more than other companies, and I agree with Ranking Member Pallone that I really don't want to go by that standard particularly, but that TikTok's in-app browser surveilled everything from Americans, including passwords and credit card numbers, et cetera. So I just want to ask you.
By the way, when that's a specific allegation that was made last fall, that it surveilled those things, it collected them without asking for it. It's one thing if you put your credit card in and it stores it and you have to let it know, versus going through the settings in your browser and just grabbing all the shit out of there, which it was doing.
If TikTok did track and collect this sensitive data that Americans don't want to have disclosed.
All right, now watch the slippery answer. Watch. I mean, this is kind of, well, you'll see.
Congressman, thank you. I'm glad you asked this question.
Congresswoman. That's okay.
Because like you pointed out, we actually do not believe we collect more data than any other social media company out there.
How much do you collect precisely? I don't care what you believe. You can believe that everyone else collects more than you do. You can also know that they don't at the same time.
A lot of these reports, and we can talk about which specific one you're talking about. A lot of them are not that accurate. Some of them we have actually gotten in touch with the authors to help them understand the data that we're collecting. A lot of it is speculation. This is something they could do. But if you look at the subtext, this is something that every company could do.
I'm running out of time. Let me just say that if TikTok chose not to take this sensitive information that you don't need for a transaction and support our comprehensive privacy bill, that would be very helpful.
They're not going to.
The other thing I wanted to ask. So,
by the way, the comprehensive one good thing that's going to come out of this committee hearing and this particular deal with TikTok, and Facebook and Twitter will twitch about this as well. No pun intended, Twitch. But there is going to be a comprehensive privacy bill, probably one of the most bipartisan pieces of legislation to come out of this Congress in the very near future. This thing only moved that further down the line. This is in many ways they're just dunking right now.
Really, this is a yes or no. That TikTok share user information from companies, from parent companies, from affiliated, or send user information to overseas?
In the past, yes, for interoperability purposes. Now, after Project Texas, all protected U.S. data will be stored here.
Did you hear that? After Project Texas, which hasn't even started yet, all protected U.S. data will be stored here. Who defines what protected data is will be in legislation that either doesn't exist or hasn't been written yet, or rules that they will, again, every time he says storage, I want you to understand that just because it's stored here doesn't mean it's not also stored elsewhere. Just because it's not stored at TikTok doesn't mean it's not stored at ByteDance. It also doesn't mean that China couldn't have server farms in fucking Macau and say none of the users' data is stored in China, right? Super fucking easy. Like, this is data. This is not gold bricks. This is something you can move around in a millisecond. So the dodge is, you have to be, if you're not being direct about it, your indirectness is in and of itself a giveaway.
With the access controlled by a special team of US personnel. Again, Congresswoman, this is something that, as far as I understand, no other company, including American companies, are willing to go. So
look at the dude nodding behind him. By the way, Facebook and Twitter and other sites don't have to do that because they're not part owned by the Chinese Communist Party and therefore under a constitutional obligation to give data. The Saudis don't even have a rule about businesses owned by the Saudis or related to being owned by the Saudis having to give data to the Saudi royal family. None of them do. It's fascinating to me. Even think of the countries that you're like, that's pretty fucking sketchy if they're an investor. Even like Russian oligarchs, when they invest in stuff, they might expect to be able to peek under the hood, but there's nothing in the Russian constitution per se that guarantees that a Russian company has to give access. And there's a reason for that too, because they would like plausible deniability about whatever the fuck is going on. There's nothing in there that says that a partially owned Russian company has to give access to user data or other shit in other countries. In China, there specifically is a rule that you must. That's why this is a big deal.
Maybe this is something that we can ask the industry to provide, not just us, to protect U.S. user interests.
In the case of sharing information, I do want to quote from employees that you had, and here's the quote, everything is seen in China, is really what they said. People who were in touch with the sensitive data were saying that.
Yeah. After Project Texas, we will take a look and make sure that.
How do you respond to that?
I disagree with that statement.
Well, I know you disagree with that statement, but my point is, how does that happen that employees of the company are saying that, in fact, that's not true?
I cannot speak to, I don't know who this person is, so I cannot speak to what the person has or has not said. What I can say is, based on my position in this company and the responsibility that I have, that statement is just not true.
Okay, unfortunately, and I'll close, I guess I'm over my time. We need to look into the facts of this, and so do you. And I yield back.
Okay, so that's Schakowsky's. We always talk about how we're back to Cat Hammock or whatever, the human hammock. I want to grab, Mike Carter from Georgia. There's a lot of the folks who go into the knockout game and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of realistic concerns about this kind of stuff. It doesn't want to pick up yet. This is so much. This is such a long 5 fucking hours of this shit.
With the Chinese government.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Boink. Let's jump in here. Yeah. So here's Tony Cardenas. This will be my last one of these, but I just wanted to walk you through the broad spectrum of Democrats and Republicans who are finally waking up to this fucking place.
Number of resources in making sure that you are investing more in pulling down content that is either deadly or dangerous on your platform. Can you forward that to the committee?
I will check with my team and get back to you on this, Congressman.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that opportunity. As was mentioned earlier, it might sound a little funny, but you have, in fact, been one of the few people to unite this committee, members, Republicans and Democrats, to be in agreement that we are frustrated with TikTok. We're upset with TikTok. And yes, you keep mentioning that there are industry issues that not only TikTok faces, but others. You remind me a lot of Mike Zuckerberg. When he came here, I said to myself,
that's Mark's brother, I guess.
He reminds me of Fred Astaire, good dancer with words. And you are doing the same today. A lot of your answers are a bit nebulous. They're not yes or no. So I'd like to ask you a question. Yes or no? Is your revenue going up at TikTok month over month or year over year?
Yes, our revenue is going up
Okay.
year over year.
And with that, some of the answers I'd like you to forward this committee is, are you investing more and more money into making sure that content that is dangerous and or deadly, you're investing more and more resources in that aspect of your expenditures and your commitment to your users and to your organization?
Yeah. Again, weak question. You want to know by percentage. Are you upping the percent of it by which you're going after this stuff? Because if you are investing 1% of revenue to deal with this shit, to literally like the knockout challenge that it resulted in deaths, shit like that, and you keep it at 1%, but your revenue's going up, you're automatically adding more money to dealing with this. If you've got to raise the percent of which you prioritize this kind of stuff. But so too easy a slip.
Yes, I commit to that, and we are investing more, and we will continue to do that.
Okay.
Because 1% of more is bigger.
My last question is this. Are you a Chinese company?
TikTok is a company that's now headquartered in Singapore and Los Angeles.
Okay.
We are not available in mainland China. Our users are in other countries around the world.
Okay. Is there...
That you heard that right, by the way. TikTok is not allowed in China.
a corporation that has any authority above TikTok?
TikTok is a subsidiary of ByteDance, which is founded by a Chinese founder. Yes.
And ByteDance is a Chinese company?
Well, ByteDance owns many businesses that operates in China.
Is it or is it not a Chinese company?
Congressman, the way we look at it, it was founded by Chinese
No. I'm not asking you how you look at it. Fact. Is it a Chinese company or not? For example, Dell is a company, it's an American company. They have activities all over the world. Is it a Chinese company?
I frequently have these discussions with others on what is a company that is now global.
That's okay. I prefer you answer the question and stop dancing for...
Oof. Dude. ByteDance, of course, fucking ByteDance is a Chinese company.
On it. Madam Chair, my time has expired. Thank you very much.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Obernolte.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chu. It's nice to see you again. If I could just bring us back up to 30,000 feet for a second, I just want to talk about what we're afraid of here, you know, what we fear might happen. Social media companies, and TikTok is unique in this.
TikTok. All right, you guys get the point. This is our lead into this. Here's what really shifted stuff. This asshole. I don't know if it's included in this. I have not pre-watched this clip, but the Fox is the Five apparently talked about this this 5-hour panel sit, and apparently Judge Janine brought up that it was positive and that there was bipartisanship, and everybody was like, she apparently was vociferous in her praise of functioning governance today while they were on the Five. And I'm curious to see like what that's like. So anyways, you're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. That was sort of, think of that as the preamble to this clip. And then of course, Jamal Bowman, who's one of the tangential squad members, came out to defend TikTok from the point of view of people who have who sell shit on there and the like, which I get, but horribly misplaced, because it's not as if those same people, if TikTok ceased to exist, wouldn't just move to be able to do the exact same fucking thing on Facebook Reels or YouTube Shorts with a lot more protections. Just saying. Or on Snapchat, for that fucking matter. Because that's who... Snapchat was the big loser in the institution of TikTok. So anyways, here we go. Let's see this. This is the Five. And this is, by the way, the Five, of course, being dicks. It's apparently racist to support a TikTok ban, is their push on.
If you have concerns about China, shut up, you racist xenophobe.
He's the funny one on this show.
Far-left Democrats defending the Chinese-owned app TikTok as
far-left Democrats. Okay.
its CEO gets hauled before Congress and testifies for the first time. Lawmakers are looking to ban it over national security risks. There are
yes, a bipartisan group of lawmakers.
damning reports that the social media giant has been spying on journalists, scooping up the personal data of 150 million American users and pushing political propaganda. It's a rare bipartisan effort, but a member of the squad would rather make it about identity politics.
Why the hysteria and the panic and the targeting of TikTok? Republicans in particular have been sounding the alarm, creating a red scare around China. Let's not be racist towards China and express our xenophobia when it comes to TikTok. Republicans ain't got no swag. That's why they want to ban TikTok. Republicans ain't got no swag. That's the problem.
Yeah, no. This is very weird. My teaching thrives on TikTok. My small business thrives on TikTok. Keep TikTok. And I don't know if Jamal Bowman, if they're in his district or there's a specific thing to it. It's a very odd that he would show up with these kind of #save TikTok, and they all handmade these kind of modified signs. It's sketchy as fuck. The hashtag keep TikTok is gnarly. It seems very manipulative and shitty. Secondly, when you make it about race in terms of a racially homogenous country that has a particularly bad product of any sort, it's kind of like, if you were against fossil fuels and somebody goes, it's because you don't like Venezuelans or Arabs. You know what I mean? Instead of, no, it's just better for the environment if we don't use that shit, right? If you made it about that in particular, because there's social media companies in the United States, just like there's oil companies in the United States and oil producers in the United States. But there's also Saudi oil producers, and there's also Venezuelan oil producers and others. And if you took your complaints about everyone's misuse or overuse, or even how they drill or their environmental standards for getting the oil out of the ground, and that mattered to you, like, while we're going to use it, wouldn't it be nice if we actually tried to raise the standards? And somebody said, you're just racist against Arabs, you'd go be like, fuck you. This is the same thing. This is I don't get, it's hinky as shit. It's embarrassing, and it makes no sense. And honestly, the only thing that makes it make sense is that Bowman has like a TikTok office in his, like, it sounds like that kind of shit. I don't know that that's the case, but it's the kind of thing you would see from a congressperson. It's that ham-handed.
TikTok CEO trying to convince Congress that the company is not an agent of the Chinese Communist Party, but that didn't go well.
I have seen no evidence that the Chinese government has access to that data. They have never asked us. We have not provided.
Well, you know what? I find that actually preposterous.
We don't.
By the way, he did that a bunch. He said that I see no evidence of this. Well, first of all, you wouldn't, because you would have to travel to China and look at a server feed. Also, you'd have to ignore the whistleblowers that have come forward saying they have seen it. You'd literally have to avoid, it's just plausible deniability. It's so fucking lame.
Sell data to any data brokers.
You don't sell to anyone.
We don't sell data to data brokers.
I didn't ask you data brokers.
Has ByteDance spied on American citizens?
I don't think the spying is the right way to describe it.
Yeah, that was bad too. Anytime somebody asked if they were spying, he was like, well, spying, I would say, spying's such a dirty word. Peeking, maybe.
Do ByteDance employees in Beijing have access to American data?
We rely on global interoperability, and we have employees in China. So yes, the Chinese engineers do have access to global data.
TikTok has repeated.
The engineers do. Yeah. Who qualifies as an engineer?
Repeatedly chosen the path for more control, more surveillance, and more manipulation. Your platform should be banned.
But what Dems really fear the most is that a TikTok ban could end the gravy train of support from younger voters. Democrats from the top on down turned to the app to reach Gen Z.
Okay, by the way, this post that was on the Democrats' TikTok, listen to me. TikTok was also, maybe I need a TikTok, maybe that's what it is, was also on their Facebook page. It was also on their YouTube page. One of the complaints from the Trump crowd was how slow and stupid their rapid response was, and how lame it was overall, whereas the Democrats were just like firing it on all cylinders, just throwing it in any outlet that came up. I was surprised that Biden didn't have a Grindr profile at one point.
Remember Beto putting the lotion on the skin ahead of the midterms? And worse, a ban would probably ruin Lori Lightfoot's new career as a karaoke singer. So, Jesse, I think this is like an important moment, because it's like the hearing's like a hotel flashlight that shows you who's on the payroll and who isn't.
Yeah, it looks like this.
Also, does anybody get that reference? Is like a hotel flashlight, shows you who's on the payroll and who isn't. Yeah, Gen Z, you're right.
Squad member got taken to dinner by a few TikTok lobbyists.
I mean, it's so obvious.
Yeah, dinner after dinner after dinner, and I'm sure there's more where that came from. It doesn't matter to me if they ban it or not, because Biden's going to get blamed. Republicans aren't going to get blamed. All the young people that are on it are just going to blame the White House.
Okay. So why wouldn't Republicans, who apparently want it banned, then just all fucking jump on board? Because they get to eat their cake and have it too. And eat what they have and have what they eat. What a dickhead. Yeah, this is, if you want to know what makes someone like Jesse Waters or even Glenn Beck short circuit, it's bipartisanship.
Now, I signed up for a TikTok account because I thought that was the thing to do to promote the show. And I go on and I enter in all my...
By the way, This is going to be creepy. I can just tell.
demographics, and then they ask me personal questions about my likes and my dislikes. And all of a sudden, I log on and I'm flooded with the exact same video. 30-year-old white moms dancing to hip hop in kitchens.
Yeah, that sounds like your kink.
Apparently, that's what I love.
And it worked, I guess, I'm going to vomit a little bit. I'm vomiting now.
And they know me, and I don't like that because we spy on other people through our platforms.
Do we?
Google, Facebook, Twitter. The Chinese aren't allowed to do that. That's our
Listen to the whataboutism on this shit.
territory. Yep. But the political correctness thing, that's...
Also, by the way, what does he mean we? Because the big complaint and the hurdle that even the DOJ has to subpoena information from Google or any of these sites. Look at the Twitter files. If the Twitter files point to anything, it's what a fucking daily slog it was trying to get any movement from a social media platform from a legal point of view in terms of, whether there's drug trades going on or human trafficking and all the other shit that happens on Twitter and Facebook, and Snapchat being the primary way that kids get fentanyl in the fucking country, and along with TikTok, and just getting any data from those was a daily grind. And sometimes Twitter would go, yeah, okay, this is obviously illegal, and here you go. And other days they're like, we're not quite sure, so fuck off. And meanwhile, the point is, there is no hurdle for the Chinese Communist Party to get this stuff off of TikTok, not Douyin, the American version of it.
That's what really bothers me, because let's just say in World War II, Bowman was around. He was going to give Truman hell for save Nagasaki. You don't want to bomb Nagasaki because they're going to call you racist against Japanese. You don't want to let that woke ideology enter into national security, because then that actually puts lives in danger.
What? Does anybody know what the fuck that was? Who? No. By the way, no one at that table understands what the fuck he's talking about. I think she would try. I think Judge would insert something. Greg is totally fucking confused, and she knows better.
Well, you know what's interesting, Dana?
No, he doesn't. Did you hear him talk?
People are talking about the spying. They're talking about the data. But the thing, it's a psyop in a way that China, the company, can amplify stories and videos that manipulate the mindsets of the people who use it. And that's when you're seeing, teenage girls with depression and suicide, boys who are no longer articulating with the opposite sex, preferring instead to look at these TikTok videos. Isn't that a bigger problem if you have kids?
Well, I thought one of the most...
Yes, it is. And that's the primary reason why you have bipartisan support. Greg, that's what's written on your little piece of paper there, you thimble-brained asshole. Why don't you powwow with Jesse Waters before the fucking show and get him into a focus point where he can complete a sentence around any of these ideas?
The interesting parts of the hearing was where he had to explain to everybody why his kids are not allowed on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And China.
Can I just say that? Watch her thinking about a thought for a second and just going, if that was Joe Biden, Joe Rogan would have a clip of that saying he's talking to no one.
Are not allowed on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And
1,000. 2,
China doesn't allow our apps in China. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do we have to allow theirs in America? I don't know. But I don't think the Biden administration has done a very good job of articulating the national security threat. One of the best questions yesterday at the White House.
Really? Have you read the CHIPS Act?
Briefing was from Grady Trimble from Fox Business. He asked, well, is the president for banning TikTok or having it sell itself off? But just last week for St. Patrick's Day, he made a St. Patrick's Day video on TikTok.
Yeah.
So,
they make it on every platform.
So is it do as I say, not as I do? Or what does the president actually want people to think? And then when you look at what has happened in the last week or so in the media, there's been a defense of TikTok. Mm-hmm. Well, what happened? Let me give you a couple of numbers. In 2019, TikTok spent $270,000 on lobbying. Not that much, okay? Last year, $5.3 million. So they know that they have a way to try to do that. So they brought their...
they also know they have a problem. They didn't have to lobby anybody back then.
Influences there.
During the Trump years.
Influence.
He wasn't even mad at TikTok until August of the election year because he was pissed at China for making it so that he might lose the election. He didn't give a fuck about TikTok.
There, somehow they got to Jamal Bowman. But that's a lot of money to spend to allow China, who is undertaking a genocide, of which you'll hear more about today when the China Committee has their primetime hearing. I do think that it is time for Americans to take one moment and say, wow, bipartisanship is still possible in America.
Yes. Hell is having a snow day, kids. This is about to get weird.
That was a pretty good hearing today. And the members of Congress were actually pretty prepared on a technological issue, which they're usually not.
Yeah, Jessica, it's kind of, it tells you the seriousness that people take this, that actually left and right can get together and talk about it. But it must bother you that there are people on your side that always use race as an intimidation tactic. They don't want you to,
Yes, because no one on the right uses race as an intimidation caravan. I mean practice. I mean immigrant. I mean, anyways.
Want to debate, so they just call you a racist. I'm tired of it, Jessica.
It bothers me mostly that you bring it up. I could live with it if it was just out there in the ether, but that I have to talk about it every day. I was glad that he was so far out on a limb by himself in this particular defense. And I should add that the American Civil Liberties Union is on his side about it. So it's a couple squad members plus an important free speech organization.
Not anymore.
It's definitely their reputation has definitely been degraded for sure, but it still is something. It's not a nothing organization. I thought the hearings were great. I still think the younger members showed up the older members a bit, but it was nice to see that Republican and Democratic members both knew what they were talking about and went for different.
Is this not weird? I feel like I'm watching a clip from a show like this in 1997.
Angles. You know how sometimes they just like hit the same thing, but it seemed like everybody had a little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, except Kat Kamak, who was like, remember my colleague said this, and my other colleague said this, and my colleague said this, and remember my colleague said this. Why would you say that to my colleague having said this?
I don't know if it was bipartisan coordination, which would be incredible, but
No, I'm getting a little turgid right now. I wouldn't call it a semi, but this is shockingly arousing.
I was impressed by that. One of the outstanding issues, and I should note, so the only social media that I have is Twitter, and I use that to stay in touch with the news. I'm very scared of social media generally, and I was talking to a tech journalist who actually has a separate phone for TikTok. She's aware of the fact that she needs to be on it, but doesn't want it to be anywhere near her other data, doesn't let.
Think about that for a second. She knows a tech journalist who has to report on all these things, and she has a whole separate phone for TikTok. Honest to fucking God.
Our kids on it. But one issue that I don't think was well enough addressed by the "we want to ban it" folks is the 5 million small businesses that are on TikTok. And this is the issue as well with like Amazon marketplaces. You need to make sure that you're taking care of the people whose livelihood.
Oh, piss off. They can make the jump. There is literally no material difference in the available formats that you're talking about in terms of fucking TikTok that as far as Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube already. They exist. I like you can fucking live stream on the Amazon marketplace. You can have your own one-person QVC on that fucking platform.
Livelihoods are dependent on this, and that isn't the 23-year-old.
Greg needs a booster seat. That's not fair. KJ Doglove, that's not right. Oh wait, who said that? No, it was Wildflower Chica. That's just rude. He's not that much shorter. He's just a slouch.
Influencers that are, roasting tomato and feta on a one sheet and then pouring it into something. Those are people who won't survive off of this without it. And I realized TikTok wasn't around a few years ago. It's the nature of the business. There will be something new. I hope it is.
Yeah. What were we clamoring when Vine died? Oh dear. We should bail out Vine. Are you out of your fucking mind?
An American Why can't we make America
Yeah,
TikTok?
it's something called Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dancing.
You could absolutely move from TikTok to some of the American social media platforms. But
Oh my God, I agree with Judge Janine, and I've never even tasted boxed wine. What is the world coming to? Does everybody's feet feel cold or just mine?
the amazing part of this is that I didn't hear a lot of discussion today. And by the way, I was thrilled that it was bipartisan. I mean, as an
I'm sure.
American, I looked at them testifying, and I said, isn't that great? The Democrats and the Republicans are agreeing on something. But,
It'd be nice if they could do it without a common foreign enemy. I would like that. But baby steps, right? I mean, it's a great, it is like, it's good that they're trying on this outfit, right? And it does require the Chinese Communist Party, which is an enormous villain on the world stage. Period. End of fucking story. And I should be careful because the last time I said that, the power went out. But I'm just saying that maybe there's hope.
dangers, they're biometric identifiers. I mean, they are exploiting us, and
Look at the stuff's written on the piece of paper. I mean, I appreciate it.
And this guy who comes in, he was evasive. He was misleading. I think he thought, someone said he wasn't prepared. No, I think he thinks that we're stupid. That Biden.
Well, in his defense, Judge, if you're the standard and you and Jesse, he can be forgiven for thinking.
Dance isn't answerable. The parent company, TikTok, isn't answerable to the CCP. That the CCP can't just come in and say to ByteDance, I want to see everything that's on there. And then when you kind of join it with what else is going on, the China.
Yeah, I love when they lose.
The CCP just had a spy craft going over our intercontinental balloon.
Yes, bring up the balloon. Honest to God, if they had written TikTok on the side of that balloon, it never would have gotten shot down.
Ballistic missile sites. You just have Putin now meeting with Xi Jinping, talking about a new world order. I mean, is it a surprise that they would use this particular medium to get information on us, to be able to spy on what our kids do and be able to know everything about what's going on? And while we're at it, we ought to look at Google. We ought to look at our own social media sites. And these people who respond with, it's racist to be against the Chinese. It just shows you how shallow they are. They're not interested in looking into.
Dear God, can you imagine being called shallow? Yeah.
What the problem is. And he doesn't even talk about the Uyghurs or the concentration.
He's not going to. Insofar as I know, he is a permanent resident in the United States to run the business over here. He's not going to bring that shit up. It's like saying, why doesn't Tim Apple talk about George Bush taking us into Iraq while he's at a conference in China?
Camps or, the genocide, as Dana mentioned, that's going on in China. I mean, it's just everything.
That would be the Uyghurs. Never mind.
Everything is through the lens of racism. Well, you've got to give that up. You've got to deal with the facts, because racism doesn't mean anything anymore. It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. When
it did before?
Someone says someone else is a racist. So, I mean, I think this was a good day for America. I think with the continuing hearings on China, people will hopefully start to recognize how dangerous China is.
Yeah, see, again, a win for bipartisanship, but only based on a co-hatred of the CCP, which, by the way, is earned.
To the United States.
The downside to banning TikTok.
Oh, dear. You can just look at his face. You can just tell something douchey is on the way.
TikTok, no libs of TikTok.
Oh, no.
And you know what? Maybe that's why the Dems want it gone. Because the libs of TikTok has done more to expose wokeism on social media than almost.
She does it on Twitter too, though. No,
Yeah.
she'll just take it over.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's only the best stuff comes from TikTok. The crazy, screwed up teachers.
I don't follow her.
With more piercings than a bait and tackle shop. I love it.
But by the way, the libs of TikTok and chodes of TikTok, chads of TikTok. Is it chads? I almost said chud because it's my cat. Chads of TikTok. Anyways, the the right-wing version of it, which is not quite as good as Libs, by the way, as far as the name goes. Both of them are pro-TikTok accounts. Let's be abundantly clear. This is not an accident. This is, these are in their own way, there's like inverted publicity. Artificially creating, controversy just to drive your own product. Now, how do I set up this next thing? How do I do it, ladies and gentlemen? The good people, the sparklers. Hi, don't forget, like, subscribe, thumbs up, super chats. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to get that building. Absolutely. Yes, we're going to get 666 Fifth Avenue. I insist. We'll get there eventually. It's going to take a lot more, but God damn it. One of these days, the chips of TikTok, right. It just unplugs everything. We go today from the sublime to the ridiculous in terms of, and what a great comparison, I think, clip to clip, this last one to this next one is, because it was very awkward watching the five how to, have to wrestle with the concept of positive bipartisanship. And again, only about an enemy, but still, we're not talking about a military issue about, weapons of war and the like. This was literally about the danger of TikTok, which it is. End of fucking story. And then we jump over to what's happening inside the Republican Party. So you've got bipartisanship. Hey, Dark Brandon. You've got bipartisanship happening on the, in reality, on Earth 1. And on Earth 2, look at this shit. First of all, Ben Shapiro doesn't like it when you giggle at his beard. You can tell. I like it when somebody tries to, grow a beard to like, people think I'm a boy. I want to be I'm tired of being a marionette. Yeah. But look at this. This is a fight between DeSantis and Trump in hell, I think, which, by the way, is not accurate because hell froze over today with the bipartisanship that happened in Congress. So I don't know how much this stands up. But this is about this is called May the Best Man Win. So I guess it's going to be a draw, or both of them are just going to tap out at the same time. Again, best in this situation being lesser of two evils. In that, I suppose, is that the fight? The battle between, and this is the description. The battle between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump has now heated up. There was a sit-down interview set to air today between DeSantis and Piers Morgan that is guaranteed to stir the pot for 2024. Ooh, it's super exciting. It's gonna stir the pot. Look at, and by the way, look at this. Hold on, I have to drag this down. Look at this shit. If you want to know whose side Ben Shapiro is on, look who he gave teensy tiny little hands. I know there's a bit of perspective going on, but that's awkward. Here's DeSantis, who's got sausage fingers, and then look at Trump. He only gets the one hand, and it's weedy beady beady. I think it's already been settled in the Shapiro household.
Well, folks, the battle between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis is now broken out into the open. It's getting kind of interesting. Last night, the big news was that there's an interview.
Very exciting, and that's good. You wouldn't maybe consider just adjusting the treble and bass on your microphone? I mean, if you're going to bother to grow a beard, I mean, there's a list priority-wise. There's things you can control, things you can't control. I understand that. But all right.
Interview between Ron DeSantis and Piers Morgan.
Oh, it's very loud. Yeah. Sorry. Between Ron DeSantis and Piers Morgan. This is another episode of Ben Shapiro yammers loudly in a Starbucks over his laptop.
It is supposed to air on Thursday. There is a sit-down interview between Piers Morgan and DeSantis.
Who are you FaceTiming with? Boy. Who are you? Why are you looking at your laptop like a lonely gamer on a bus?
It is unclear when exactly this was filmed. And that's a little bit important simply because
Ron DeSantis is a little bit important. It's a great description of him.
DeSantis opens up on some of his critiques of Donald Trump. If this was filmed, for example, after Trump had made clear that he thinks he's going to be arrested this week, and this is a major tactical blunder by DeSantis. If it was filmed before, he'd sort of understand what he is doing. In any case, we're going to go through the politics of this. Here's what DeSantis actually has to say. So Piers Morgan.
So DeSantis gives an interview and says something, and then they announce they might be arresting Trump, and then that occurs, and it was a blunder by DeSantis to get on with saying what he would or wouldn't say normally because of the possibility that Trump might get arrested or might not get arrested any particular week. My God, man, how has the RNC not hired you yet?
Asked DeSantis about the fact that Trump has been nicknaming him and calling him Miranda Sanctimonious and all the rest of this kind of stuff. And here was DeSantis' good answer.
His good answer. And by the way, if I may, we'll see it first, and then I'll...
What is your favourite nickname that Trump's given you so far? Is it Ronda Sanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Well, I can't...
I think even he went off Meatball Ron.
I can't... I don't know how to spell the sanctimonious. I don't really know what it means, but I kind of like it's long. It's got a lot of vowels. I mean, so we go with that. That's fine. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, just as long as you also call me a winner.
And they...
Oh, well... I guess... You're the winner of the Dipshit of the Year award. No harm, no foul.
It's that last line that DeSantis is going to run on, that he is, in fact, a winner. And as we'll get to in just a second, when it comes to the politics of the primary, there are really three issues at play. And the first one is, who do you think is more of a winner, DeSantis or Trump? Because I have a particularly, neither. I effectively think that at this point, this is a two-man race. He also got into some...
Well, if you agree that either of them is a man, I will give you that in the parlance of our time, they are both biologically male. In terms of them being men, however, I have my doubts.
His deeper critiques of Trump as president, he said, I also just think in terms of my approach to leadership, I get personnel in the government who have the agenda of the people and share our agenda. Which, of course, is correct. I mean, one of the big problems for Trump is that he was constantly staffing around him people who did not share his agenda, including, by the way, Michael Cohen. I mean, Michael Cohen.
Excuse me. That wasn't his fault. He's just trying to keep his campaign promises, Ben. He said to the American people he was going to bring in the best people. The best people are, by the very definition of being best in any category, going to be at odds with anything that Donald Trump thinks up. You can't be the best at anything and agree with Donald Trump on that very thing. You will be broke and in shitty physical condition. Hashtag the best people.
Cohen was his personal lawyer for years, and it is Michael Cohen's testimony upon which this Manhattan DA is now going to bring this flimsy indictment against Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, flimsy, but I think a good phase one of his legal troubles, because by the time we get to Jack Smith's trial, it's going to be fucking gnarly. It's going to be hard to argue. As a matter of fact, all the arguments that that Alan Bragg's case against him was flimsy and weak and stuff, like, I don't know how you react to what White is bringing against him other than, now that's a case. That Bragg shit was a bunch of baloney. But you got to give it to, honestly, these charges are fucking for real. This isn't any of that chintzy Alan Bragg stuff that seems just designed to embarrass him about the fact that he's a porn star fucker in front of all of his evangelical base to kind of drive them away. No siree, Bob. This is, I'm impressed. And the Georgia case? Also excellent. By comparison.
Trump has surrounded himself his entire career with not the best people.
But enough about his adult children.
As it turns out, he was constantly firing people inside his administration. He had an incredibly leaky administration. He didn't fire all the people in the deep state who were targeting him, for example.
That's because there is no deep state. But also because he didn't even understand what people did.
And that was one of the things that DeSantis pointed out about, for example, Anthony Fauci. He suggested that it was a mistake.
Anthony Fauci is not the deep state. Anthony Fauci is the head of the CDC. He's the NIH head. He's a point person. The deep state would be the shadow people below that are making decisions and, that you can't override. It has to be nothing but like CIA plants throughout the entire government. That would have to be, if there was a deep state shadow government, that's the only way it could function. They'd have to have the ability to crash your plane or push you out of a window, Russian style. And if they aren't, and they're the person who stands next to you at the podium while you elbow them out of the way and go, on second thought, maybe a light bulb up your ass. Try that, then maybe you're the deep state.
Mistake for Trump not to fire Anthony Fauci, considering he was the president of the United States, which of course is correct.
Not anymore.
DeSantis said, we really focus on knocking out victories day after day. If I get involved in all the undertow, I would not be able to be an effective governor.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word undertow if I was the governor of Florida. That's going to bite you in the ass at some point.
He says, with regard to Fauci, he suggested that Fauci probably should have been fired by Trump and that there was really no reason for Trump not to fire him.
Yeah, make sure you pull up what you were talking about, because again, Little Boy chats with his laptop in an empty office is a great show, and I'm riveted every time it comes on. But it would be nice if the plot moved a little. It was a little snappier.
That his leadership style in Florida was very different by nature, which of course is in fact true. Again, all of those critiques are well taken. All those critiques are very real.
Great. So we could have just watched what he said. Thank God you're here, Ben.
Unlike the Trump critiques of DeSantis, which are basically calling him fat by calling him Meatball Ron, or suggesting that he is holier than thou with Ron DeSantis.
Did anybody get the idea that Meatball is a fat reference? That he's fat shaming him? I think of it as a New York way of saying dumbbell, right? Guy's a meatball. Like he's nothing, like, it's like meathead. It's in that realm. Does Ben think that Trump is fat shaming someone for real?
Or tweeting out random accusations about him supposedly harassing underage girls or maybe boys. Literally a thing that Donald Trump tweeted over the weekend. Everything that DeSantis says is substantive.
Yes. But that didn't stop Ben from supporting Trump as best he could during his entire presidency.
But that's not...
And agreeing to vote for him again if he's the nominee.
Not really the question here.
No, of course not.
The real question here is a strategic one. Okay, because this primary is going to be about three main issues, I think.
Okay.
The first one, as I mentioned, is who is more of a winner?
Joe Biden. I mean, if you're just talking about legislation.
So here... you have the evidence of your eyes, and then you have the evidence of your heart.
Oh, no. This freeze frame perfectly displays the actual psychology going on in Ben Shapiro's carcass right now after saying that out loud. Fucking hell. It's about my heart, man. That's why I love Trump. The Lord sent him to drive out the deep state cabal of baby-sucking witches from outer space.
And these two things are going to be in a battle for Republican voters. The evidence of your eyes that Ron DeSantis is more of a winner than Donald Trump, at least over the past 4 years.
Well, I don't know. How did DeSantis's insurrection attempt go? Was it successful? Is that how he got to be governor? I wish I gave a shit about Florida politics.
Because if you look at the last election cycle, every major Senate candidate that Trump endorsed lost. Herschel Walker in Georgia, Blake Masters in Arizona, Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, Don Baldock in New Hampshire.
Yeah, but in his defense, those people weren't, by any measure, the best people.
All of them lost. A bunch of congressional candidates that Trump liked didn't do particularly well in the last election cycle. And that was following a 2021 election cycle in which Donald Trump was almost solely responsible for the loss of 2 Georgia Senate seats, which resulted in the biggest spending binge in American history under Joe Biden. Because
holy shit, are we watching David Pakman right now?
If Republicans...
I'm sorry, David, that was rude of me. I didn't mean that. Don't take that to heart.
Republicans even hold one of those.
You don't look anything like Ben Shapiro, and I think you could grow a fantastic beard. As a matter of fact, I stand by the fact that you look like if Jake Gyllenhaal decided to do the dinner theater version of The Machinist. Work with me.
Then
if I have to deal with Danzig in a dryer or Gene Simmons' illegitimate kid, you can take that one. God damn it.
None of that spending gets passed. So Donald Trump's record since 2016 has been one of unbridled failure.
All right, cool, nice. All right, well, that's so we should put you in, I guess, the undecided camp. Is that where we're going? This is, by the way, pair this with the bipartisanship we saw around TikTok in the Congress earlier today, and understand that this is Ben Shapiro, who's like his organization, the Daily Wire, is one of the power punchers in the right-wing media sphere, automatically gets pushed to the front of the fucking line in all kinds of areas, Facebook and Twitter and all these places. And this dude just said this.
In terms of elections, not in terms of policy, he did a lot of wonderful things.
Hold on. 1 second. Back over here. Shit. He said this.
Biggest spending binge in American history under Joe Biden. Because if Republicans even hold one of those seats, then none in Arizona, Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, Don Baldock, and didn't do particularly well in the last election cycle. And that was following a 2021 election cycle in which Donald Trump was almost solely responsible for the loss of 2 Georgia Senate seats, which resulted in the biggest spending binge in American history under Joe Biden. Because if Republicans even hold one of those seats, then none of that spending gets passed. So Donald Trump's record since 2016.
By the way, that is not true. Just for the record, like the idea that across the board they were going to kill the infrastructure bill or or even the rescue package, it had we not gotten control of the Senate in this particular instance, is bullshit. Because all of those districts, especially in the Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, that region and into Florida, benefited enormously from not just the infrastructure bill, but the CHIPS Act and the rescue plan. They like all those guys were like, they're going to be rolling in this federal funding and these tax breaks that go along with these industries because of what they have there. So no, none of that would have, like, they may have tried to cut it down a little bit, but it would have passed. I got news for you. McConnell would have made sure it did.
Has been one of unbridled failure.
That's what he said. There we go. This is the Donald Trump has been just since 2016, unbridled failure. Shit, this makes Tucker Carlson's texts look like love letters from Kim Jong-un.
In terms of elections, not in terms of policy. He did a lot of wonderful things as president, but in 2018, he got his clock cleaned. In 2020, he lost to Biden, and Republicans outperformed him along nearly every other line. In 2021, he lost 2 Georgia.
But list the policies. You said he won on policies. He was great on policy. Like, what? What part? What policy? Getting rid of the cops program and the pandemic response team, and 2 years later having the biggest riots since fucking the 60s all across the goddamn country that could have not happened had Derek Chauvin been bounced by a program the Obama administration, along with Joe Biden, had already put in years ago, but he just bounced it for the sake of anything that has Obama's name on it. He wants to kick to the curb. At the exact same time, he did the pandemic response team, and we ended up 2 years later, almost to the day, ending up having to deal with a pandemic that he had his fucking trousers dropped on.
Georgia Senate seats by single-handedly intervening in those Georgia Senate races. And in 2022, all of his handpicked candidates in a very competitive Senate run for a Republican Party lost. So that is a bad record. Meanwhile, DeSantis in 2018 got elected by the thinnest of margins by 0.4% in the state of Florida, and he turned that into a 20-point victory in Florida, and he picked up congressional seats, and he won a supermajority in the legislature. There was a wave, a red wave, in 2022, but
in one state.
But it was relegated to the Sunshine State. That was the only red wave in America.
Yeah, then it's not a wave, especially in a state that is a peninsula in the, obviously in the weakest possible terms, because it's a little dangly if you do say so, but surrounded by blue waves, as it were.
What's happening in Florida. So in terms of just the pure evidence of your eyes, when you look at who is more of a winner, at least in the foreseeable past,
Yeah, but what about my heart, man?
What you see is that DeSantis is more of a winner.
My heart,
However,
no.
that's at war with the battle inside the Republican heart.
That's right. My heart is in a battle with my brain right now. Thank God I live in the heartland, not the brain land.
Because there is this myth of Trump that's been built.
But what about the kidney?
Since 2016. And the myth of Trump goes something like this. No one could have beat Hillary Clinton except for Trump.
He didn't. He lost by 3 million votes. He won the Electoral College because a lot of people didn't like her on the left and voted against her because they were mad about Bernie Sanders. 75,000 of them. Fuck those people. Hopefully they've learned their lesson. He didn't win. He didn't beat her. And arguably, I got news for you. Kasich could have won. Yeah. John Kasich could have won that election. He appealed across the board. Those folks that didn't vote for Hillary or held their nose or whatever, or all the fucking misogynistic assholes who are allegedly on the left side of the ledger but have their issues somehow, they would have voted for Kasich. He's not so bad. In the same exact fucking way they voted for Trump or didn't vote at all. Same shit. There's no question about it.
No one.
John Kasich is the governor of Ohio at that time. Like, he was doing great. He was moving up. And the only reason he didn't get up there is because Jeb and Trump and stuff ate all the news.
Hillary Clinton was a juggernaut. And Trump came along, came out of no.
I think Hal would be relentless if he had a dun 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 button. I agree. But it would have to, like, the camera would have to go dunk 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 like that.
Nowhere. Put down everything he was doing. Came down that escalator. Faced all.
Put down everything he was doing. What? Having affairs and allowing the Russian mob to run a pimping organization out of his fucking building? You mean that kind of stuff? That shit's on autopilot.
All the slings and arrows, up to and including the P-word tape and all the rest of it.
That's not a sling or arrow, motherfucker. That is a self-inflicted wound. If assholes like you weren't running interference for him during that period, that would have been the end of it.
Just kept walking and ended up defeating Hillary Clinton. And
no, he lost the popular vote.
It was a miracle. It was a miracle because, again,
yeah, that's the way I look at it. A miracle. A man who brags about sexually assaulting women beats a woman running for office who's eminently qualified. That is a miracle, Ben. Yeah. I mean, if you desperately fear the idea of a female president, I suppose it would be a miracle.
That relies on another piece of mythos, the 2012 mythos, which is that Democrats were never going to lose another election. After 2012, Democrats bought into the idea that they had created a durable minority-majority coalition, along with college-educated white ladies, and that coalition,
along with college-educated white ladies,
would be unbreakable for the rest of time. After Barack Obama won re-election in 2012, beating Mitt Romney despite losing something like 3 million votes from 2008 to 2012. Normally, that doesn't happen. If you're an incumbent, you usually gain votes. You don't lose votes and still retain the presidency, but that's exactly what Barack Obama did. And so a theory went out from the Democrats that Democrats would never lose again. And that was the theory that a lot of...
Yeah, I don't remember people running on the idea like, we fucking got this. I mean, you could argue that that's how Biden won. That's their complaint. He was in the basement the whole time. But I would argue that Biden staying home and actively campaigning from home while the rest of us were stuck at home instead of having big rallies that would be super spreader events was the greatest campaign gimmick of the 21st century so far and maybe the last 40 years. Brilliant. What do you do in a pandemic to show leadership? Don't go out in a fucking pandemic. It was a lesson that Trump was incapable of learning because of his own ego and his own lack of, a foundational element to his ego or a substructure to it that kept it up without constant adulation. It's no wonder that he resonates with evangelicals so much, who focus not on the behaviors that are expected of them as Christians, but on the constant praise element, that as long as you're raising your hands and clapping in church and singing all the hymns and showing God your fealty, you don't even have to act like it the rest of the time. You just got to sell it. It's just the sales part of it. It's the same thing. That's why Trump makes sense to them. It's all about lifting him up and praising him and singing his name and having fucking icons and pictures of him around. It's the same idiocy. And you're not responsible for any quality behavior at all. As a matter of fact, in terms of Trump, you're rewarded by being as shitty as possible.
Republicans bought into after 2012 as well. And then along comes Trump, and he breaks that myth, right? The myth is now that Donald Trump is a unique character who is able to defeat all the forces of political gravity. They just don't apply to him. They don't apply to him. And when presented with the evidence of your eyes, right, which is that he lost in 2018, he lost in 2020, 2021, 2022, when presented with that evidence, people go with the evidence of their heart very often.
I see. So what if you're a regular Ben viewer and you've accidentally stumbled upon this and you don't quite understand what he's going? What he's saying is that you're a big dum-dum. You're a moron. That you can't deal with reality at all. And so you go with this sort of like emotional, dare I say, chick response in the parlance of the crowd, so you understand what I'm saying. And what he would, he would hope eventually is that you ignore your stupid heart and go back to your stupid brain that apparently thinks DeSantis is a winner.
I'll say, well, he didn't lose. He didn't lose. All Republican presidents are going to lose the midterms. People usually lose the midterms. And then in 2020, when Trump claims that fraud happened and that he lost fraudulently, a lot of people are like, well, he is a miracle man from 2016. So if he lost in 2020, it must have been because the only way you can defeat a miracle man is to cheat. So,
by the way, thank you, Ben Shapiro, for just saying Miracle Man, so I can remind people of the most slept-on Ozzy Osbourne album ever, No Rest for the Wicked, the album that debuted Zakk Wylde as his guitar player, that is just brutal from start to finish. And the song Miracle Man, which is about Jimmy Swaggart's whole bullshit about, I have sinned against you, that whole story is fucking awesome. In many ways, No Rest for the Wicked is another variant title of Miracle Man. And then the fact that Zakk is singing the chorus Miracle Man through a talk box while soloing is just awesome. It's a great fucking record. And it applies in this situation to Trump. It in many ways is a perfect theme song on so many fronts. Now, Jimmy, he got busted with his pants down. Repent, you wicked sinners, you righteous clown. It's so good. Like, Ben, and by the way, I know Ben's a big Zakk Wylde fan. That's why he's growing the beard.
must have been that the left cheated, not by setting the rules differently. I agree. That was a cheat. Not by
the way, also one of Ozzy's best opening laughs in a song ever. He does it fairly frequently. I would go with the best one on Miracle Man. And the riff is just, don't get me started. I wish Johnny Million was here to just morally high-five me on this because he knows I'm right.
using the media as the baton. I agree that's a cheat. But by actively changing the nature of vote outcomes in states, as Donald Trump suggested, without evidence that they had, and then refused to give him the presidency along Donald Trump's lines by certifying elections that were illegitimate, and Mike Pence, and all of that kind of.
Really? When did this all happen? I must have slept through the whole thing. This is so weird. Why would you even bring this up? Do you know what he's talking about? This is crazy. Like, did it? That sounds so nuts.
Of stuff.
By the way, yes, Zach does rule. Thank you for pointing that out, K-Jug Doug Love. And for the record, 1918 Eternal is and Stillborn, just they must be in heavy rotation in your household if you're a metal fan at all. And metal fans are happier people, and that's just not me saying that. That is clinically proven.
So that's the mythos. It's the head versus the heart when it comes to,
or the kidney versus the asshole.
DeSantis versus Trump in terms of who is more likely to be a winner, which is a big issue in a Republican primary.
Isn't it?
Well, Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump are vying for that Republican nomination. Joe Biden continues to crater the economy, and this means that you should be diversifying your...
Oh, fuck this asshole. He's going to sell his gold, isn't he? Watch this. Wait. Yeah, there it is. Birch Gold Group. Yep. And fucking text Ben to Benny Ben, and then live read. Shut the fuck up.
Tactical blunder for him to do this interview with Morgan, where he actually opened up the guns. And this is why I really, really suspect that this interview with Piers Morgan was done before all the chaos of the last weekend. Remember, it's only Wednesday right now. It takes a while in post-production to actually put this stuff together. They're using it as a preview.
Post-production.
For the interview tomorrow night. So my guess is, again, that this interview with DeSantis was done probably Thursday or Friday before all of the chaos of the weekend, in which it became clear that Trump is likely going to be indicted sometime this week. That third question, that tertiary question, is the question of loyalty to Trump. So let's just get this straight.
Hold on. All right, well, shit. If the other candidates have to answer the question of loyalty to Trump to even be considered, and Trump considers anybody running against him, period, to be disloyal, it is a self-defeating system.
The 2024 primaries are going to be a loyalty test to Trump. Trump wins. I mean, it's just that simple. Because there is no one more loyal to Donald Trump than Donald Trump.
I'm so upset I'm not writing this down. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine me, fucking hell, can you imagine me, in all seriousness, talking about Joe Biden this way? Imagine a world where Joe Biden loses this next election and then he runs again, and he's teed up to basically win the next one in a lot of people's minds on our party side. Like, fuck, the guy to beat 4 years from now is going to be Joe Biden. And anybody has to, if you even dare to step foot, like, can you fucking imagine? Like, I'm embarrassed for them. Who the shit? You don't realize that you are in a fucking cult. If you even have to have this loyalty conversation, you're done. It's a self-canceling feature, stupid. God damn.
I mean, end of story. If the question is, which candidate is going to show the most loyalty to Trump, Trump wins. We played this game
because he'll be loyal to himself. How do you say that out loud? I don't even know why you add that one. Like, that's something you scrawl on a piece of paper at the beginning when you're prepping your show, and you're like, what the fuck am I talking about? Never mind. Like that. Like, what the hell?
It's just that simple. Because there is no one more loyal to Donald Trump than Donald Trump. I mean, end of story. If the question is, which candidate is going to show the most loyalty to Trump, Trump wins. We played this game in 2016, by the way.
Good Lord. How do you even, like, process that level of idiotic egoism as an actual one of the top 3 foundational principles for an upcoming presidential election? Motherfucker. Like, if this was like a local, like, small town mayor's race where everybody goes to the same church and all that kind of shit, and so it's always this, well, everybody's husbands and wives are sneaking around, there's all this stuff, and it's all about, well, if you don't vote for, fucking what, the Murdaws, there, you're gonna catch shit later on. What the hell? This is a the presidency of the United States of America. How in the hell are you not punching yourself in the dick right now?
You'll recall that Ted Cruz in 2016.
No, I don't. I blank out everything Ted Cruz does as soon as I'm done laughing.
Basically tried to ride Trump's coattails all the way, never saying a bad word about Donald Trump the entire race, and then hoping that Trump was going to fall over and Ted Cruz was going to take the nomination. And it turns out that was a horrible strategy because he rode Donald Trump's coattails all the way to second place until Donald Trump turned around and just clocked him directly in the face by calling his wife ugly and his dad the murderer of JFK. And
yeah, but that's not a tactical problem. That's because Ted Cruz is apparently delusional enough to think that the United States general public likes him in any way. Because that's a huge... Ted Cruz, most people think of him as number 2.
Cruz took it. And then he had to go to the primary, and then he went to the convention. And you'll remember that he tried to have the baby. And listen, I know Ted. I really like Ted.
As in cut in half, not have a baby. I don't know.
It's a tactical blunder of extreme proportions, right?
No, it wasn't. It was a material blunder entirely. It was Putin level blunder. You were apparently under the you were living under an umbrella of bullshit of your own construction that blocked out any sunlight that would disprove any fantastical theory you would have about yourself. And you ran headlong into a battle you absolutely were not prepared for and were doomed to lose from the start. The fact that Ted Cruz was the second choice, even in Ben Shapiro's mind, shows that he's even more deluded about this now than he was then. And I mean, Ben.
Ted said, you'll remember at the RNC convention in 2016, follow your heart, which all the Trump, he thought he was going to split the baby. He thought he was going to be saying to the Trump voters, vote for Trump, and to the not Trump voters, don't vote for Trump. And everybody took it the opposite way. All the not Trump voters were like, we can see what you're doing. You kind of want us to vote for Trump. And all the Trump voters were like, you want us not to vote for Trump. So he ended up with no friends, right?
Uh-huh. What's that like, Ben? This is the story of how little Teddy had never had a friend again. Why don't I have any friends? Well, little Teddy, part of it's because you're an unbearable asshole. No one wants to be around you. I know, but so is Trump, and he has lots of friends. No, he has business acquaintances and people who owe him money. And he owes money to mean people who he threatens to beat up the people who owe him money if they don't pay him the money that they owe him that he lent to them from someone else. Why is your nose bleeding? I'm so lost.
You can't play that game. If the game is loyalty to Trump, no one beats Trump. End of story. Done. The primaries are already over.
Again, what a goofy fucking premise.
I don't think it's quite about that. I don't think the primaries are quite over.
Okay, so you gave us three standards, and you don't think it's about those three standards. Great. You've got a little over 40 seconds left. Bring it home, big boy.
I think that the Republican feeling about Trump is not that you can't criticize Trump. I think the Republican feeling about Trump is generally you cannot give ammunition to people who spend their lives criticizing Trump.
I'm back up. I'm confused too, Ben. What the fuck?
It's quite about that. I don't think the primaries are quite over. I think that the Republican feeling about Trump is not that you can't criticize Trump. I think the Republican feeling about Trump is generally you cannot give ammunition to people who spend their lives criticizing Trump. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show continues right now. You're not going to want to miss it.
Oh, God. That's the bailout? The rest of it is ad? The rest of it is a bounce. Whatever. You're not allowed. The rule is you can criticize him all you want. You just can't help other people criticize him who do it a bunch. Like, you can't buy Ann Coulter's books or some. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Honestly, God, like this is. I'm beginning to think that maybe the weight of the beard is. Maybe he's not growing a beard. Maybe he just woke up on a desert island and he's dehydrated. Maybe it's too much rum. Maybe just Ben Shapiro's just slipping. There is an Adderall shortage, but he's still speaking as fast as you. Maybe that's what it is. He's run out of Adderall and he's just using speed. And the speed keeps him talking really fast and he keeps prattling through this. But it's not quite the synaptic benefit he was getting from a pure nootropic, in this case, Adderall. I think maybe that's a possibility. Or you can only maintain the illusion of intellect for so long with nothing to show for it. That's probably what it is. I think he's just tired. That's what it is. Ben's just given up. He's just he's sick of it all. He's sick of carrying the weight of the intellectual dark web all by his lonesome. He just wants to retire to a Starbucks in the woods and occasionally, in between bouts of not bringing his wife to orgasm, head down to Home Depot and buy a board he can put in a bag because, whatever gets you to the other side, I think is, sexually, it's up to you. I'm not, if the board has a hole in it, so be it. It's none of my business, none of yours. You're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. I think maybe this is an illness brought on by the bipartisanship that happened. I think everybody's just in fucking shock. Am I already at the end of the show? Son of a bitch. That went by fast. Can I do a little dip on one thing? Can I put a little toe in the water with one other thing? Because this is a little too good to pass up. We don't get these very often. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the representative from the highest per capita murder rate city in America, Bakersfield, California, it would seem. And he's on Fox Business, and he's just having a hard time. It's so frustrating dealing with Biden White House lies. So hard. Why is my job so difficult when Nancy Pelosi had it so easy?
So with that, let's bring in House Speaker, the great Kevin McCarthy.
Wait, the bottom line with Daggin and Duffy? How did I not know that was a show? Daggin and Duffy together again. They fall in love and fight crime.
Mr. Speaker, good to see you. I want to get your take on this because, Joe Biden has...
What are your take on this? I agree. Speaking for a living is difficulty wordsy stuff.
...had historic spending. We have wild inflation.
All right. Look what happened. I got to dig into this. Fucking son of a... Now I got to go to my library, and then I got to go to the watching later. And yeah, here it is. Let me get to this. This was hold on. This is 7 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. May I take you on a little trip to 7 years ago to a Donald Trump interview that I think is...
You are doing it.
Hold on. Quit. He's doing it. All right. This is when he announced that he was running, and Morning Joe realized, I think in the moment, that they had created a monster, and they used to let him call in his fucking pajamas all the time, or started after this. It's official, Donald Trump is running. The national debt... listen to what his complaint was. It was 31 trillion when he left office. 30 trillion when he left office, a little under 31. Yeah, this is from 7 years ago. This is his official announcement. Check this shit out. And then just run over what we now know. If only we had been... Yeah.
Why did you decide to do it this year when you passed all those other years?
Well, I looked at it, but not very seriously. Mitt Romney let a lot of people down last time. He was supposed to do better, and he disappeared. He choked. Something happened to him at the end.
He's also pretty sick during this. He's got a lot of, or maybe he had to get up early and he did and it's, he's got a histamine reaction to...
Last time. The country's in trouble. We have a big fat bubble coming up. You watch. We have artificially induced low interest rates.
Listen to this motherfucker. You what now? This is the asshole who, during his presidency, would ask the Fed chairman to go to negative interest rates. Negative. This motherfucker.
We have a big fat bubble coming up. You watch. We have artificially induced low interest rates. We have a stock market which has benefited me, but we are in a bubble like you've never seen before.
Explain.
Probably we have 20% unemployment, not 5.6%.
Probably we have 20% unemployment. And by the way, this motherfucker would bring us closer to 20% unemployment than any president in modern history. Not Jesus Christ, this asshole.
So I just think the country is doing terribly.
We're in a big fat bubble. You really want to?
Ripped off by everybody, every country, including China, big league. Including
big league. The bubble. You're talking about this bubble. What bubble?
We are in an economic financial bubble, in my opinion. It's got to be fixed fast. We owe 18 trillion. I would say going to 20 trillion mark pretty quickly. You look at what's going on.
We're at 18 trillion when he ran for office. 18. We're going to 20 quickly, he said. And then listen to what he says. And by the way, a third of our national debt happened during his fucking presidency in the 4 years he was president, including COVID. But even still, like his tax break was his tax cut was unpaid for. Like this, watch.
So we'll see what happens, Joe, but I predict some bad things. Without proper leadership, I predict you're going to see some very, very bad things happening economically. You probably have a 20% unemployment rate. You have interest rates. I borrow money like I'm building the old post office. You pay like nothing. They give you free money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's bad. That's not good. And
That's bad. That's not good. Meanwhile, 2 years into his presidency, he would ask the Fed for negative interest rates and thought it was terrible that he had to finance the debt on an actual interest rate, even at 0.125.
We've always the people that save their money, Joe. They saved their money. They did it the way you're supposed to. For 30 years, they saved their money. Always. Now they go to the bank. They're getting 0.25%. You know, on their savings. Those are the people that.
0.25%. Yeah. It was 0.250%. He brought it down to 0.125 and then wanted it to be negative. I can't. All right.
The middle class in this country has been.
That's what I want to ask you about. So what policies would you put in place? What changes would you make to try and help lift up the middle class in ways that has not been accomplished before?
Yeah, let's do this. I feel like it's great going in the Wayback Machine, kids.
Specifically. The biggest thing we have to do is new trade agreements. China is killing us. Mexico is killing us. Japan is killing us. Everybody is beating us. We have.
No, they aren't. Ask anybody who's in the dropship business, who made their living on Amazon, or even those people who are complaining about TikTok and they're going to lose money. They're buying cheap shit from China and selling it again at a markup, or having stuff fabricated over there very cheaply and selling it over here. Are we buying more stuff from them? Yes, but we're selling it to our fellow Americans or other people in the West for a huge markup. That's what the businesses are built on. This is a wholesale. It's like saying you have a deficit with your wholesaler. I don't know why my wholesaler doesn't buy anything from me.
Competent people negotiating trade. We are losing money at every single step. We don't make good deals anymore.
Give us an example.
And that's why, Joe, I go out to speak. And I think Mark will tell you, although he's only about 70% there, but I think you will say, I get the biggest crowds, I get the biggest ovations, I'm getting very good poll numbers, and nobody until yesterday thought I was running. I mean, it's fun.
Well, actually, that's what we said yesterday, but give us an example of how, because a lot of people believe it right now, especially while we're negotiating the latest trade deal, that the United States always is out negotiated on trade deals. Give me a good specific example of that.
Because China and all of these people, Mexico is the new China, by the way. Mexico is unbelievable what they're doing with cars and with industry.
Yeah. I mean, slow down. The details, I can't do it. I forgot, looking back, how beautiful mined this shit was, with just stats and figures and stats and just overwhelming.
They are taking our business like we're a bunch of babies.
They are taking our business like we're a bunch of babies.
We don't have our best and our brightest negotiating for us. We have a bunch of losers. We have a bunch of political hacks. We have diplomats. And China puts the people, I mean, hey, look, I know the smartest guys on Wall Street. I know.
Yeah, remember this shit?
Our best negotiators.
I know our best negotiators, and we're going to bring them in. That's right. And who did he bring in to negotiate? Yes, people from the former Obama and Bush and Clinton administrations who had already negotiated deals before.
I know the overrated guys.
Yes, this is an old clip. This is, just so you remember, this is 7 years ago, but this is in relation to what we were just watching.
Underrated guys, the guys that nobody ever heard of, that are killers, that are great.
Yes, guys you've never heard of that are killers, that are great, like George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, PhD.
We got to use those people.
So
we're using
who would be your
I'll
guy?
give you an example.
Who's your Secretary of Treasury?
Joe, let me give you an example. Carolyn Kennedy. I see 60 Minutes. She goes in, she says to the White House, oh, I'd love a job. Well, would you like to be ambassador to Japan? Really? Wow. She's like a negotiator for us in Japan. It's ridiculous. Japan is doing a number on us with the yen. You know, they just devalued the yen yet again.
Right.
We don't.
Japan.
Don't have people that know what's going on.
So again, specifically, who? Give us a name on Wall Street that you might consider as a Secretary of Treasury.
You know, George, the best person. Bestie McBesterson.
I'd like
tough
guys.
negotiator.
I'll tell you what. I'd like guys like Jack Welch. I like guys like Henry Kravis.
Yeah, you like them, but and by the way, oh, this is so good. It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Why is it's so good? Why, Hal, you ask? Why is it so fucking good? I'll tell you why it's good. Because this is a guy he cited 7 years ago, and look at the organization that he's talking to right there. Look at who Kravitz. I would have preferred Lenny Kravitz myself, but look where he is. Does anybody see? Does anybody see where this guy is speaking? Think now about the greatest villains on the world stage according to the right wing currently. Do you see it? There it is. That's right. Now it's coming. The World Economic Forum. Nothing but just evil villainy. They're the ones who are going to build us 15-minute cities and make us all get vaccinated and live in a fucking cave like the Eloy, and they're going to drink the juice out of our baby's spines. That's it. Motherfucker. It's so good. Fucking hell.
I'd love to bring my friend Carl Icahn. You know, I mean, we...
Uh-huh. You didn't. And you wouldn't.
We have people that are...
By the way, I don't know where he's in. Is he at Giphy Nation? What is that?
We have people that are better than any of their negotiators. We don't use them, Joe. Yeah. We use people that are soft and weak and, frankly, stupid and incompetent.
You mean like the folks you brought in to do the China deal? That little China deal. Gung, 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 gung. Oh, 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 oh.
Position on the issue of whether or not to raise the minimum wage?
I would say leave the minimum wage. That's not the problem, Mika. Whether somebody's getting an extra, the problem is we have to create jobs.
On what they're being paid.
The problem is we have to get jobs in the country. The jobs are being taken by Mexico and by China. The jobs are being taken by India. You know, you call up.
He did fuck all in this area.
Up American Express, and you talk to somebody on the phone. They have an accent. You say, "Where are you from?" We're talking to them in India. And I say, we can't do that ourselves. We have to bring back jobs.
We have to bring, those people are taking good American call center jobs. You know, the jobs that are A, miserable to do, and B, will be automated largely. What a dickhead. Oh, yeah, never pass up an opportunity. Where are you from? You sound weird. The Upper West Side.
But don't you think wages are a part of that issue? And, okay, obviously you don't agree with raising the minimum wage, but do you agree that stagnating wages are a huge part of the jobs crisis in this country? And if so, what would you do to fix that?
Gross domestic product for the first quarter went below zero. That's unheard of. It's unheard of. I mean, where do you see going below zero? In China, it goes up 8%, 9%.
No, it doesn't. Also, it vacillates quarter to quarter all the fucking time, especially when you're using year-over-year numbers. You can see the seeds of this idiocy when it happened. Hold on, let me see. Which one were we on? Yeah. So that was where we were before. Oh, this business. Okay, so that's
Now we have bank failures, but historic spending. We have wild inflation.
Yeah, so that's why we went there, was because of this guy bringing up Biden's historic spending. Trump is directly and indirectly, if you talk about like him signing off on the response to COVID, total responsibility for a third of our national debt, a third of it.
Now we have bank failures. But Joe Biden,
do we though?
Refuses to sit down and talk to you to negotiate a rise to the debt limit?
Yeah, he refuses to step forward because it only makes the problem even greater if he ignores it. And
So his goal is to make the problem greater. You're a moron.
think about it. You named a lot of different problems. The reason we have a bank problem is because the Democrats spent $5.9 trillion, brought us inflation. With inflation, interest.
What? Silicon Valley Bank got over leveraged with crypto and bought a bunch of treasury bonds and needed to snatch that money back and lost money on the deal, and then panicked a bunch of billionaire crypto assholes themselves who were the reason why they needed to take the money out quickly in the fucking first place. The fuck does that have to do with inflation?
Rates go up, banks come in problems. What else has he?
Sorry. Interest rates go up, banks come in problems.
Inflation. With inflation, interest rates go up, banks come in problems.
I don't know. It's just too much, financial mumbo jumbo. I wish I'd paid more attention in home econ.
There's brought us inflation. With inflation, interest rates go up, banks come in problems. What else has he done?
What else is new?
We're paying more for gasoline because of his energy policy. We've got more Americans dying because of fentanyl because of his open border. Now we've got China thinking they're able to do something with President Xi that hasn't happened in 100 years. They're bringing Saudi Arabia and Iran together. He's sitting with Russia. He's now creating the new axis of power, something we haven't seen since the 1930s with Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia. Why?
Yeah.
Because we've got...
Why? Because we're leaving and they need to make money elsewhere and they don't have a lot of friends in the world, so they have to turn to other autocracies and make deals for food and energy because the West in all of Europe and the United States are cutting them out of the normal working system of the world because they're assholes. Or
a weak leader in the White House, and we're seeing in every aspect. When America is not strong,
we're seeing in every aspect, and banks come in problems.
The rest of the world is not safe.
Mr. Speaker, are there any...
Mr. Speaker, how can we be sure we're not talking to a computer generated ChatGPT? Oh, I'm sorry. ChatGPT would never be this stupid.
Scheduled meetings between you, the Republicans, and the White House about raising the debt ceiling or dealing with the debt limit?
There are no schedules. I sat down with them, told them, look, I'll be reasonable, I'll be rational. The two things I will not do. I will not raise taxes, and I will not raise a clean debt ceiling. But if you want to sit down and find ways that we can eliminate waste and abuse, if we can sit down and we can pass...
Here's a good idea. Put a budget forward, asshole. You have the entire Republican caucus. Take a long weekend, fucko. Go back over your greatest. You've obviously got some winners in there. Darrell Issa, big rich people, and just gaggle them together. How do we make more money and spend less?
Policy changes. Maybe we put in work requirements, help the supply chain, get people back to work.
Put in work requirements for, oh, good. That's what it is. We're just going back to old Newt Gingrich bullshit.
Maybe we secure the border. Stop.
I don't know. But then if we secure the border, then you'd have, I guess, you'd be seizing a lot of fentanyl, more fentanyl in a year than you had the entirety of the previous administration's for. And you wouldn't want that. I mean, that's...
300 Americans dying every single day. Maybe we do something on energy to lower the cost. That would be the #1 driver to lower...
You mean like the Willow Project?
Inflation. Let people keep more and make America stronger and the world safer. He has...
Why didn't I think of that? Guys, why didn't you bring it up? Chat room, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you... We've been doing this show this long, and none of you thought to think up, or I certainly didn't, to make the country stronger and safer. What is wrong with us? I swear, what? It was right in front of us the whole time, and both words start with an S. I don't know why we were this. I'm ashamed of myself.
It's not followed up one time. I was with him at St. Patrick's Day lunch, saying I'm waiting to come down and meet again. He told the
He's waiting to come down and meet again. He was at St. Patrick's Day and he was waiting to come down and meet again because banks come in problems. Fucking hell. This is the Speaker of the House. Look, if your job has, if I may, a speaker in the title, perhaps learn to speak. God damn. This is terrible.
Democrats at retreat, he's going to meet with me, and
that didn't.
Saying I'm waiting to come down and meet again. He told the Democrats at retreat he's going to meet with me, and I've been sitting and waiting saying I will come any day, any time, any night to make sure that we get a plan that puts us on a path. You know what the...
That's a little pervy. Look, sure you can come any day, any afternoon, any night, but can you do all three in the same 12-hour period?
Bank failure, it's more important now than ever before to not have this runaway spending, to curve it,
to curve it. Perhaps you mean to curb it, as in curb, as in bump up against a part that will stop it from going any further, but without to curb, or to make shit in an area where you can control it, as in curb your dog. Curve it. Shit.
The great economist Milton Friedman said you
can ride those curves all you want, but it's the straightaway that gives you the burns and the balls. It's a fun time. Come on, head out. No, that was a character in Cars, I think.
The only person that can create inflation is government spending.
So true.
Yeah, that's dumb. All right. By no means. And I don't know if Friedman said that actually, or if that's a misquote anyways, but that's just ridiculous. Of course, inflation can have other causes. Like, I don't know, supply shock for a fucking example.
And Mr. Speaker, at one point, you can't negotiate with your...
Well, I by the way, I also wouldn't... Let me bring this up a little bit, sorry. I would call him Representative McCarthy right now or something. Yeah, now you kind of have to say Speaker, don't you? You just keep drawing attention to it. You know what I mean? It's like he blew a snot on his upper lip when he laughed or something, and it's just hanging right there. And you can't say, you need to say it's not, and you can't stop yourself. You want to say it isn't, but you're like, it's not that. God damn it! Why can't I stop?
Yourself. At one point, if Joe Biden doesn't engage, do you cast him to the side and go over to Chuck Schumer and sit down with the Senate and try to negotiate a deal to
cast him to the side? He's waiting on your budget, dumb fuck.
Cut spending or get some good legislative reforms and then raise the debt limit?
Chuck's almost even worse. Chuck says, oh, you should just pass a clean debt ceiling. He couldn't pass it out of the Senate. He doesn't even pass a budget. He doesn't even pass appropriation bills. So the Senate is where nothing happens. I mean, we've moved more than 38 bills. They become law. Think about some of the things we've been able to do with.
Well, then that means the Senate has passed them. Right?
The small majority.
He also passed the omnibus, for the record.
Stopped this president from selling our oil to China out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We cut 87,000 IRS agents.
No, they didn't.
We stopped.
No, they didn't.
D.C. from decriminalize even down to murder when he said he wasn't going to support it. Yeah. We moved.
He did support it. He didn't say he wasn't going to support it. He agreed to sign off on it.
Stopping ESG, where people could actually get a return on their investment instead of playing politics with their investment. He vetoed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm going to guess, like, that you're not counting that as a win, are you? That's, all right.
Before we move on.
No, let's not move on. Let's hang on the fact that he just decided to end his little gish gallop on something that Biden vetoed as a list of his wins.
Is this the political calculation by this White House, Mr. Speaker? Is that they create another crisis with the debt ceiling by not doing anything on it and then try to lay the blame on the Republicans?
No, that would be his plan, dum-dum. That is literally his plan.
For all these crises.
See, the White House put forward a budget as a reason to raise the debt ceiling and to cut spending over time in a manageable way. That's them doing something, and that's them calling this fucker's bluff. But what do I know? Banks come in problems.
That they also created.
I think that's exactly right. I think they want to just take the economy to the brink and try to blame us. It's kind of like saying the vice president is in charge of the border security, and we watch what's happened on this border. Do you know?
It is like saying the vice president's charge of this border, and that's what we're seeing on.
We've caught more people on the terrorist watch list in February than we caught the entire 4 years that President Trump was in office.
Maybe you should have tried harder. By the way, thanks, Joe Biden.
We're seeing Chinese come across every single day.
What? We're seeing Chinese come across every single day from Mexico? Via Haiti?
We're watching what's happening, and he ignores that problem as well. I think
he raised the expenditure in the omnibus and in his future budget. You could, of course, pass comprehensive immigration reform. The bill is sitting right there. It's something, by the way, that Joe Biden helped craft when he was in the Senate. It would pass. No.
there are so many problems out there, he thinks he can combine them all and just blame somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Thank God we're not projecting. And she's looking at this dude like he farted. I don't know what happened. We obviously they've muted the mics there.
You watch his press secretary every day when he talks, and you wonder, where is this?
His press secretary is a she. Whoops, hold on one second.
Blame somebody else. You watch his press secretary every day when he talks, and you wonder, where is this, the Twilight Zone?
Yes, perhaps Karine Jean-Pierre in the Twilight Zone is indeed male. On Earth 1, however, you're an asshole.
You know, it's pretty hard to blame Kevin McCarthy or Republicans when you said all the time.
No, it isn't. It's actually pretty easy. I haven't had a hard time. Have you guys had a hard time? I haven't had a hard time.
I want to negotiate. I want to sit down and talk, and the president doesn't take you up on it. But you mentioned
that you had a budget and you were going to read it on the air today. And
Karine Jean-Pierre, and I want to move to this because
him.
As Peter Doocy asked the White House press secretary about how new House oversight info into Joe Biden's family making money off of China, and after she refused to respond, she said it's all lies. Listen to this, Mr. Speaker.
House Oversight says they've got bank records showing a Chinese energy company paying 3 Biden family members through.
That's not what it says at all, by the way. That is a lie. That's a lie. I mean, again, you can't walk in his rig. You could say paying someone who then forwarded the money, we believe, directly to the Bidens or whatever. If you're saying that the Chinese energy company paid the Bidens directly, you're just wrong on the facts and it won't work out. Don't. Why do you got to be that lame about it?
Third party, what were they paid for?
Look, I'm just not going to respond to that from here. Look, we have heard from House Republicans for years and years and years how the inaccuracies and lies when it comes to this issue. And I don't even know where to begin to even answer that question, because again, it's been lies and lies and inaccuracy for the past couple of years, and I'm just not going to get into it from here.
Mr. Speaker, it's a known fact that the money came in to a friend of the Bidens and then was distributed to the Biden family.
Is it? Well, then I guess game, set, match then, motherfucker. I would file charges. Where do you go first? You go straight after James and Hunter and try to roll them to get the big guy? That's what I would do. Find the state. Find where it's illegal. And then I would also what you should really do is go through Biden's record as president and find all the areas where he's gone easy on the Chinese. And then if you can tie that directly to these payments, I mean, I think you're set. I don't know, like, how easy you need a badminton racket for that home run, bitch. Come on.
And Queen John Pierce sits at the podium and says it's all lies and
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Actually gets away with it. How do you deal with such lies that come from the White House?
Yeah, how do you do it? It's just terrible that she says your lies are lies, and then you have to say she's lying when she said you're lying and stuff. How do you deal with that? Use some words that in the wrong order. That usually calms me down.
It's just so frustrating. I'm glad you're showing it so the rest of America can see it, because
this is Fox Business. Calm down.
They're ignoring it.
The rest of America is not watching The Bottom Line with Dagan and Duffy.
It's exactly what happened. I was sitting at our...
Look at them criming right out in the open. He's obviously talking to a Chinese person. They had to cut it off for legal reasons. And over there, he's talking to a Ukrainian. There's somebody photoshopped out the big pile of money. God damn it.
Retreat last week, and they told me that the Bidens were very upset because that we found this out. And I said, what were they most upset about? Were they upset that they only got $1 million out of the $3 million? Were they upset that they had to pay taxes on the money? Because what did they actually do with this money?
Yes.
The Bidens actually came out.
Shutters. It mostly goes to shutters.
And said it was
ice cream. I bet Biden's got a fucking ice cream machine. He's got one of those. And because he's old, he's got the hand crank kind. But it's an antique. $1 billion ice cream machine from the original Baskin Robbins one. He got it off an online auction. He sniped some other oligarch.
Need money to create a company, but nothing ever went forward.
Because the organization that guy was working with never formed an American company, and there are no refunds in fucking business if you fuck around with other people. Again, this is so good.
You've got one Biden that they've never talked about before that is a school counselor. What did she do for that money? It's very interesting that we've watched this entire Biden family, that they tried to hide the information. Well, this isn't the last. We have a lot more to go.
Yeah, that's right. This is, realize this isn't, we're going to go through all the guns that they have to find one that's smoking. And if we can't, we will buy a gun and fire it ourselves and then go, smoke. And I gave it as a gift. I hereby gift this gun to the Bidens, this smoking gun.
We'll show the entire American public what money.
Yes, he makes Ben and Jerry. He pays Ben and Jerry to drive to Delaware every weekend to make Chunky Monkey by hand. That's right. He's such the Bidens are just such fucking rich, nouveau riche assholes.
He was getting from China, and the real question he'll eventually have to answer. Even CNN began to question it.
Did they begin? Jesus Christ. Slow down, chew your words.
Mr. Speaker, the House Republicans have only had...
You had to call him Mr. Speaker after he said began, didn't you? Now you're just being mean.
It's subpoena power for...
By the way, notice how they're labeling the border crisis the fentanyl border crisis, because people are getting fucking sick of the bullshit border crisis story. Nobody cares.
For about 2 months, a lot has come out because of that power. Can you give us any insight or any additional information into what James Comer and the Republicans have found out that we might not know yet?
Yes, because none of this is actually doing it for us. Can I get another bump or something right now? Because my high is wearing off. This is some cheap shit.
Well, I think you're going to find out more of some of that we currently know. The money from China and how much more is coming and who did it go to in the Biden family. And why is all the Biden family getting money?
I don't know. It's a big fucking... They are Irish Catholic. It's a big fucking family. If only 5 members are getting it, you're going to have to dig a little deeper than that. Have you seen Every Sperm is Sacred?
The real question will be, too, is when you sit down and you look at these emails that we've had for quite some time, America has had it. The big guy, okay? Yep. Well, why in that email, why didn't somebody question that within the Biden family?
Because what's his name is an asshole. and nobody cares. He just called him that. By the way, why does nobody question the fact that Don Jr. refers to his father as the big guy? How do we know he wasn't in on this deal? And Biden is hiding the fact that he was in business with Donald Trump before all this shit was happening.
Who is the big guy? I guess they all knew who that was.
And it doesn't have anything to do with my height, I'll tell you that. Look out, the kidney.
But who was gathering this money? The other thing, you were right, Dagan, about
who was gathering this money. Words speak hard. Make noise from face.
What we've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. Remember, we promised that we would get to the bottom of COVID. Now you're getting the classified documents. We passed that in the House. Yeah. The president signed it, didn't think we'd get it. We've created a...
The president signed it. You mean the guy who, when he got in office, instructed the intelligence community to do a 90-day review on the origins of COVID, and that's where most of the documentation you're using as your guideposts to get more stuff actually came from? You mean that guy? Oh, you mean Trump, the guy who was like, I think she's doing a fantastic job. I called him last night. In between the giggling, he said, they're covered. It's very small. It's not coming here. We'll be fine.
Select committee on weaponization. We created a
weaponization.
Select committee on China, a select committee on COVID. And
excuse me, these are all unselect committees, or they're not committees at all.
Now the information is beginning to flow, and we're going to follow it wherever the information takes us, and we're going to provide it to the American public.
Great. Super exciting. Just like you provided it to Tucker Carlson and no one else, so that he could edit a piece of it and then pretend it never happened.
So they can make their own judgment.
You know, a lot of talking heads would comment about how the new Republican majority in the House wouldn't be able to get anything done because it was such a tight majority, and you lay out all these things that you all have done.
Yeah, especially the stuff that got vetoed or didn't pass. It's amazing.
With this tight majority, it's actually pretty impressive. I do want to switch gears because I want to talk about the story that everyone is talking about. A New York grand jury hearing called off today in the case against former President Donald Trump. Now,
it was called off.
Sources say there is major dissension within the DA's office. And so, listen, no one knows politics better than you. You know every
really
district, every member, every race, every number.
I don't think that's the case.
How, if Donald Trump is indicted and they perp walk him and they get a mugshot of him, how does this play politically across America?
It's going to be better for him. It's going to be amazing. It's going to martyr him and people will line up. Democrats are going to cross the aisle. Independents can't wait to vote for a dude who's been perp walked over a porn star payment. I mean, it's their dream candidate.
I think it plays with Republicans that get offended by it because they know exactly what it is.
Yes, and we do best when we're offended.
This is using the law not equally, but directly for political purposes. Remember what we're talking about.
Okay, what are we talking about? A bookkeeping error.
This is not the Attorney General of New York.
No, this is not. Absolutely. This
is not even the Attorney General of New York City. It is a borough, Manhattan only.
Yeah, the place where Trump has a tower named after him. Only.
He's looking at a case that,
and multiple other properties, where, by the way, his father and he were named in a suit as slumlords who were discriminated against black people renting in their buildings. Do go on.
The statute of limitations are gone from. He's looking at a case that...
The statute of listen.
He's looking at a case that, the statute of limitations are gone from.
The statute of limitations are gone from. Fucking hell. Does this man... Syntax, man. Syntax. This is brutal.
He's looking at a case that everybody else says nothing has gone wrong in it.
He's looking at a case where everyone else says nothing has gone wrong in it.
He is a DA who prides himself on not prosecuting people. We've known, what's happening in the city today, and that he lowers felonies.
You mean Bakersfield? Yeah, it's a shithole, I've heard.
To misdemeanors. And he's going after this just for political purposes. The one thing that America...
Well, it is an election fraud crime.
...respects is the rule of law applied equally everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. That's why Trump should face charges for his lying to the IRS and to banks, I think, and the civil cases that, should go along with them. Yeah. You agree, right? Also, he should turn himself in on his sexual assault against the ones that he's admitted to, because he's like, they had to come in. I would argue that to some degree there had to be a law broken at that Epstein party, that it was just him and all those women paid to be there, right?
You can look at, remember what Hillary Clinton's campaign did. They sent $1 million to an attorney. Why did they send the $1 million to the attorney? Because the attorney then paid for a fake dossier. It was investigated, right? But
no, it was a real dossier. You can say that you don't believe what's in it, but it wasn't just, she didn't pay $1 million for something that didn't exist. It's not fake. Again, it goes in the category of you can't leak a lie.
They weren't prosecuted. But Hillary's campaign ended up paying $8,000. And what did the DNC pay? They paid about $105,000.
Yeah, it's almost as if Trump could have answered these charges early on years ago and said, piss off, I'm a billionaire, here's your measly $25,000. But he didn't. He said, fuck you, which, a lot of DA offices will have an issue with.
There's no equal...
But again, what do I know? He's the law and order candidate.
...justice here. And I hope that the jury actually sees, the grand jury, that this is not where they should move forward, is not what America wants to see, and that we believe in equal justice, and this is just wrong.
Yeah, I don't think they're supposed to actually consider that at all. I think they're supposed to consider the facts and evidence in front of them and any exculpatory evidence that is presented in the indictment phase. Because he will have due process and he will have a trial and he will be able to make a defense and face his accusers and all that shit. Right? Again, my favorite part of this whole thing is the fact that Trump's attorney put him in a headlock essentially by saying, this happens, this is a normal thing, these kind of payments, which means now the DA can ask him or the prosecutor, whoever does it in court, if this is a normal thing that happens, how many times have you asked women to sign NDAs or paid them to do so when you've had affairs? And what was the timing of those things? Because you can't say that this is a normal part of your existence and it happens all the time and it has nothing to do with the campaign. If you say if your attorney says it's common for you and you've obviously paid people and gotten NDAs before, so were any of these for sexual misbehavior for locker room talk kind of things? If that's the case, that you've done it before, and that's your defense, that's how you're going to get out of this. You said, I do this shit all the time. I didn't do it for the campaign. Case closed, because that part's not illegal. Hush money and NDAs aren't illegal. The only part is using it to cover your ass during a campaign and then basically giving yourself a campaign donation illegally through someone else, which is what you're here for. If you're saying you do it all the time, give us a list, motherfucker. And then you can go home.
A New York City grand jury that, according to Fox News reporting, the district attorney is having trouble convincing that grand jury as well. So dissension in the district attorney's office and trouble with that grand jury.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything to worry about. I think it's just, it's going to be another week where people brought up the fact that he fucked a porn star that, 5 months after Barron was born while his wife was at home taking care of the kid. And she has an embarrassing story about his dick being a teeny little mushroom and him being pathologically afraid of sharks. And it was over very quickly and gross and uncomfortable. And she regrets it happening, but it was kind of hilarious at the same time. Remember that whole story? It's just another opportunity for that story to come up. And then we'll get to the real crime, which Jack White is making Trump shit his pants about.
They're on standby for tomorrow. Before we go, Mr. Speaker, we're talking, Sean
kind of like the Proud Boys
mentioned everything that the Republicans have been able to get done in the House, and talk about some bipartisan getting done that the president vetoed in his first veto ever.
Yeah, all vetoes would be bipartisan or they wouldn't pass. Right?
Partisan bill that he killed that would have stopped the labor.
House Sparks, Moms Russo says, House Sparks, I started hating Trump back in the 70s and early 80s. Well, you're a trendsetter, Moms Russo.
Department regulation.
All right, we're almost at the end of the show. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, Patreon.com/HalSparks. Think about becoming an annual subscriber. It's just one and done. And then if you're on Twitch, subscribe. And then, of course, if you are interested at all in super chatting or whatever, this is your last chance to get it in before the show's over. I know I went long, but who cares?
This is what you passed, the Senate passed as well, that would allow the
Yes. All presidential vetoes satisfy those two standards. Wouldn't you say?
controversial environmental, social, and governance, ESG investment policies in the management of retirement funds.
Hold on. How did you characterize it?
As well, that would allow the controversial environmental, social, and governance, ESG investment policies in the management of retirement funds.
So it would allow management funds to incorporate those in their financial planning. Doesn't mandate that they do, doesn't make them do it, doesn't force them to do it in any form. It allows them to do it. And I would guess if it didn't work out for the retirees or the people who are investing, that they would lose that job, and the companies that were managing that would fire that person or shut down or go away, which would be the market working, I think. But secondarily, this is not ever, ESG is never going to be the entirety of anybody's portfolio, but an element of the portfolio because the membership demands it, but Congress not allowing them to even request it of their, of whoever manages the fund, seems very big government, nanny state, commie bullshit to me.
Wanted to end this. The president is okay with a political agenda being inserted into investment decisions and basically allowing investment managers to choose
whatever they think is best for the fund that they manage at the request of the members, or that will give them the best return.
Politics over what produces the greatest return.
Or
for
both. It might shock you, but a lot of the renewables and ESG related funds and the kind of stuff you're talking about are the growth industries of the future.
A broad swath of Americans. What do you do? What is the House?
By the way, Tesla would fall under the ESG envelope. All of the Tesla offshoots, SpaceX, the car company, Twitter's private, but that would technically. Thank you so much, Chud Fund. Oh, thanks so much, JD.
Doing tomorrow after the president's veto.
Well, we're going to try to override that veto. But the one thing, you both are experts at this.
Oh, dear.
Dagan, you just know from the financial markets, your years working the Money Show, and Sean, you being on financial services.
Ass kisser.
What's going to happen here in the future is the same thing that happened to Silicon Valley Bank. People are going to wake up and say, why don't I not have good returns?
Why don't I not have good returns? So you do have good returns. Lucky you. Why?
To Silicon Valley Bank. People are going to wake up and say, why don't I not have good returns?
Speaker McCarthy.
Why do I not have a retirement account as large? Why do I have to keep?
Why don't I have a retirement account as large?
Working. Because they're.
Why do I have to keep working? This is by the way, of the House Republicans, he's the best. He's the best they have to offer. He's the very, very best. Everybody else can't even, they don't hold a candlestick to his speak ability.
They're inflicting their personal political beliefs into how people could invest instead of getting.
They're inflicting their personal beliefs into how people could. No, they're not. You are. The president vetoed it so they would have the freedom to do whatever the fuck they want and include ESG if they want to. Or if the membership or the leadership of the fund that, whether it's a retirement fund or any of the union funds or whatever, they have the right to ask for that if they want to. You guys tried to outlaw that. You tried to take a tool out of their toolbox. He put it back in.
The best return on the investment.
again, define best. If you make a bunch of money, but you poison your rivers and streams, you create a cancer cluster in fucking Louisiana. I'm just saying, are we just hashtag best or air quotes best?
These are the problems we're looking forward, and we're going to continue to.
These are the problems we're looking forward. What the shit?
The best return on the investment. These are the problems we're looking forward, and we're going to continue to fight.
Yes, we're going to continue to fight. Our battle with vocabulary and grammar. Oh, these horrible.
What's interesting here is the majority of members in the House and the Senate. That's the American public sent it to the president's desk. But again, he wants to play politics instead of looking out for the average American to get more return on their investment and have a bigger nest egg. The rest of America doesn't get to make $1 million after the Chinese for their entire family.
The rest of America doesn't get to make $1 million after the Chinese for their entire family. What is... Are they just... Is he in a... Are they slowly sucking the oxygen out of the room? Is his necktie too tight? Or has he always been this dumb and we just haven't been able to see it?
Doing nothing.
It's also,
and that's the difference.
It's also a backdoor way to funnel money into the green agenda, as if...
You know what I'm saying? A backdoor way to funnel money into the green agenda. But only if money managers decide to do it. And also, citation needed that it won't be the best return over time. Can I, real quick, and I'm on my way out the door because we're done with this asshole. Price today. Hey, remember what I was saying last summer? Oops, I got to move this over so you can see it. Hey, look at that. Why can't people invest in oil? It was 120. It's just going to go up and up and up. So why can't they? They should be able to invest in oil. That's this Green New Deal shit. The oil is the way to go. You can only put the money where it's going to have the biggest return. I don't care about the ramifications of this ramalama ding dong. This doesn't matter. You got to be able to put your money in oil so you can have a retirement that you can cough through. Not in solar companies that are making a bigger return and don't have a limited resource that eventually they'll both run out of and people will stop using as much. Shit. I've said a lot of things. You're right. And this, like many of them, again, I'm right. Remember when everybody was like, it's going to be... I would like to remind you that the Glenn Becks of the world and the Kudlows of the world and all those folks who was in the fucking Trump White House told you $200 a barrel gasoline by December. And I was telling you last spring, it's going to go below 70. I love you guys. And I just want to do right by you. Honest to God, I feel a sense of pride when I'm right about these things because I both think it will alleviate some of your anxiety so you don't, these assholes who want to dangle you over a fire and make you feel like everything's burning up around you. Fuck those people. And also because I feel like I'm genuinely providing a service when I do. You know what I mean? Like I'm really giving you something worth watching. And I will do my best, my level best all the time. And, nobody bats a 1,000 like this consistently, although my record is pretty damn good. But I will say, like, it is my goal to always give you an alternate take that's more in line with genuine reality. And I hope it's fun along the way. Hope that it's a little bit silly and a little bit smart. And I also hope I will see you tomorrow, because the morning show tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, Trump's attorney is going to be testifying tomorrow, so some of it will already be underway, and there'll be a fucking Justice Department watch going on your television set that we'll talk about. And then, of course, the folks from Crooks and Liars are going to be joining me for the second hour. Fingers crossed it all works out. I adore you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I'm sorry I went long tonight, but I'm not really.